We headed off on a bearing of 39, as I remember Cameron saying.
I think it's 39.
And it was a lot of, at the beginning, we initially just had to find our way to a path, and then we followed that path along for a few kilometres. Yeah, we followed the path for about a kilometre or so, came across some cows, and then we had to do some off-roading for a bit, which was through some elephant grass, which is obviously, it's always tough. But the weather was a bit on our side. It was quite warm, sunny, we had a lot of visibility, no rain, so it was a good first day.
Oh yeah!
Not too difficult terrain. There's a bit of elephant grass here and there, but you're gonna, if you get a day on Dartmoor where you don't walk across elephant grass, you're lucky.
And then we had lunch by a river. That was quite nice.
Cameron volunteered to fill up everyone's bottles for us, and so he filled up my bottle, gave it back. I put a tablet in it, covered it back up, and then he started filling up George's.
And I dropped George's lid in the stream. And I felt really bad, but Tom managed to run after it and get it back, so it was all okay.
We went across some more elephant grass, and it was just elephant grass and the occasional short path for the rest of that day.
A lot of just walking, talking, singing. And our first camp night was at Nuns Cross Farm, which was a very remote little house in the middle of nowhere. And I remember seeing it and thinking, is that it? Got there, set up. By then we were all absolutely shattered, but we were still high-spirited.
We arrived first, so take that, other groups.
We set up our food, we got everything cooked and eaten, and it was all good. Everything was fine. We filmed our introductions, we filmed a few bits for our project, and then went to sleep.
I remember waking up dead on midnight, and it was really weird because it was quite bright and I could hear something rustling. There was no wind or anything, and I could hear something making some noise.
He was looking outside the tent, I think, when I woke up. I asked him what was going on. He said, something's taken our rubbish bag.
Everything was sort of moonlit. There was a full moon directly in the centre of the sky. Everything was really eerily lit, and our rubbish bag was perfectly in the centre of my view. I thought, this is weird. It's almost like a horror movie where it's going to bait someone out onto their own and then they get taken away. So I asked Tom to go out.
So I unzip it, step out the tent with my head torch, look around quickly, make sure there's nothing too close, and I see the rubbish bag just in the centre of our pitch, like of our team. I went over to the rubbish bag and I could see there were some pull marks on the rubbish bag, but it hadn't got into it. And so I picked the rubbish bag up, had a look around to see if I could see what it was. And about 100, 200 metres away, there was Blue Team. And I could see like their tents with my head torch, and then I could see just two glowing green eyes just staring back at me from their tents.
And he saw two little beady eyes disappearing off and dipping around, and you know.
And then it suddenly scurried off really quickly, and at that point the speed of it, I knew it was a fox, there was no doubt. And it turned out one of Red Team had lost almost all their food to the fox, because they'd left their bag on the outer compartment of their tent.
Day 2, we woke up and it was quite foggy and misty and also raining. So me and Tom went to get water.
Found a frog! Look at him, he's a big boy!
Then we came back and had breakfast, and we took a while having our breakfast.
I like my porridge warm.
We were kind of quickly packing up when we needed to. It was pouring with rain, so everything we put on and all of our tents were soaking.
Everything got wet and muddy, and it was one of those times when morale sort of dips. Everyone is wet, everyone is cold, and you've still got an entire day of walking to go. And it was hard. It was really, really tough.
The weather started to clear up gradually through the day. It was miserable for the first bit, definitely. Elephant grass, we had to deal with some blisters. I remember on like the second checkpoint, I think it was, we had to stop, deal with some blisters. We continued to the top of a hill, which is where we had lunch. Oh, top of a hill, top of a tor, which is where we had lunch. And I can't remember what the stone in the middle was called. None of us can remember what the stone in the middle was called. But it marks the highest point of a tor. We sat there, had lunch, and we were thinking of staying there for a little bit longer than lunch had told us to, because we were knackered. There was elephant grass. The weather wasn't exactly very forgiving. It was windy and cold. But then we looked off back from where we came from, and there was just these dark clouds and rain, and we knew that we couldn't stick around for too long, otherwise we were going to get caught in it.
Yeah, so we wanted to walk as quickly as possible because there's a load of rain coming when we were having our lunch, and so we didn't stop for long, but we did obviously have to leave when the walk card said, so we just made sure we were ready and had our packs on.
There was a horrible patch of elephant grass.
The next 3 kilometres of our journey was the biggest elephant grass we've come across, and it took us about 4 hours to travel 3 kilometres, which is not great. So we were very late on the last day.
And then we ended up at a nice tour where we met our assessor. We headed off down the hill. We were already 2 hours late at this point due to the horrible walking conditions we'd been in.
So we made our way down that hill, and about halfway down we got held up by somebody having to relieve themselves.
We stopped for a little break because of Cameron. Instead of doing his business, he decided to spend 15 minutes saying, "Oh, don't follow me, I'm going to do my business. Oh, you better not come over here."
And Cameron stops to relieve himself, which is fine, there's nothing wrong with that. But he spends about 15 minutes choosing a spot to go.
What left?
No, because I thought the footpath. No, I thought.
No,
we're
over here at Dead Man's Bottom. What? There's a sign there.
Oh yeah, that makes everything so much clearer. His path is that way,
See, this is why
and
you.
got it. Yeah, thank you, Horace.
You're welcome.
Okay, that helps.
But we did make a good pace from that point on, and we caught up as quickly as we could. We made decent time from there. We arrived at camp last, but when you arrive at camp and the other teams are already there and they see you coming down off the hill, and you can just hear them clapping and cheering you on, it's nice.
That was a really nice campsite, actually. There was a nice little stream going past. It was all very scenic. Big towering evergreen trees. I became best friends with a rock. And man, I love that rock so much. We were just best pals. And then George didn't like the rock.
Cameron had selected a rock to use to peg down the tents. And he was done with the rock and he left it outside. I thought it was very, very careless of him. So I thought, I'll just put the rock back in the river.
So he threw it into the stream.
So I threw the rock as far as I could and it went into the river. And I've never seen as much sadness in a man's eyes. Later in the evening I tried to have a conversation with Cameron and still he wouldn't speak to me. So I'm getting ready for bed, I'm starting to get tired. I get into my pyjamas and a hand comes in and a load of paper gets thrown in and I thought, what's this?
So I wrote on the paper, "I will find it in my heart to forgive you," or something like that, "but you must find me a new rock," or whatever.
And I leaned out my tent and Cameron was stood there pointing at the river looking very sad.
I was standing by the stream, just stood silently and just pointing towards the stream sadly.
And we climbed into the river where I had to retrieve a stone for Cameron. I said, "This is the one you want." And then he changed his mind, so he shook his head.
And pointed at a new one that I wanted, and he grabbed that one.
I looked at him and I held his hands out and I said, "Cameron, this is the stone." He nodded and I put it in his hands. He went, "Cheers mate," and went to bed.
And I think I still have it actually.
Now day three started the best of any day. Woke up, it was pretty warm, we had breakfast, we packed up, we got sorted and we headed off early because we were allowed to. We were ready and we were ready to go, and the assessor said, "We'll allow you to head off 20 minutes early." So we thought, yeah, just crack on. Everyone was boosted. After yesterday we thought, oh, yesterday was so horrendous. It couldn't get worse. It couldn't get any worse than how it was yesterday.
and almost immediately after the bridge it was quite a steep hill. We then entered the forest.
We went through a forest on top of that hill. That was a really nice leg of our journey actually. That was probably the best bit.
It was so cool. It was such a contrast to everywhere else we had walked. So everywhere else we had walked was just big open ground, and this was like just tight, dense forest, but with a straight path all the way down. So we had lunch on top of the tour. Not lunch, we had a break on top of the tour for our second checkpoint.
After that,
You slid down the hill.
Oh, I did slide down the hill.
I have
yeah.
footage of that as well.
I slid down the hill because it was better for my knees.
It had been really nice weather, just really windy up until that point, and then we look behind us and there's just black as anything clouds coming in behind us.
And we thought, right, get waterproofs on now. So we all did. Everyone got all their stuff on, and it just, out of nowhere, just started hammering it down. Absolutely torrential rain. And we had to push through heathers, across a little stream, up through spiky bushes, through a tight little path. It suddenly out of nowhere had become horrendous.
There's our checkpoint 4! We've made it in record time! It just came down on us like a ton of bricks. I think it was probably some of the heaviest rain I've ever seen in my life. And it lasted for like, I'd say for the first time it came, it lasted for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, just solid hammering it down. The water just stayed in puddles, it was just all there. So we had to quickly pop up the storm shelter as we were all getting a bit cold, especially Horace.
Horace revealed to us that he was wearing tracky bottoms and didn't really have any waterproofs on.
He thought they had built-in water resistance or waterproofing in them, so he didn't bring any extra waterproof trousers.
It got really bad and everyone was getting quite cold, especially Horace, who turns out did not have as many layers as he should have had on. So we took the storm shelter out and actually had lunch in the storm shelter, not at the top of the tour.
He was freezing, and we just thought, let's stop. It doesn't matter about timing, it doesn't matter about anything. The most important thing is that we don't freeze.
We went through kit at the beginning. Make sure you make it clear if you don't have anything, because they can always supply you with stuff.
We got to checkpoint 4, which was a waterfall, and it had stopped raining. Everyone was starting to warm up. Everyone was starting to dry off. It was good. And the second we decided to leave the checkpoint, it started raining again.
We were at the sunny waterfall about 10 minutes ago, and it's already gone like this. Absolutely no sun anywhere.
And it was just marching through it, marching through it.
At some points we were feeling down, but then we sang songs and played I Spy and got the morale up high again.
Difference about 1 kilometre can make. 10 minutes after that, rain. 20 minutes after that, sun. 20 minutes, rain. 20 minutes, sun. And it was like that for the rest of the day, just on and off, on and off, on and off. We ploughed through, we got to the campsite after like an hour and a half of just elephant grass, and it was horrible weather. The tranches, me and Cameron volunteered to stay outside of our tents and get the tranches going and cook people's food. We put up Horace's tent first to get him in so that he could warm up, and we gave him some spare clothes to keep him dry. Yeah, so me and Cameron stayed out. We were desperately trying to light these tranches with just rain pouring down on our backs. So every time we were pouring meths in, if you weren't quick enough to light those meths, a layer of water would appear on top and you wouldn't be able to light it. And just as we were about to go inside the tent and stop for the night, the rain stopped and the clouds opened and it was just like a bit of sun. But the timing of it was awful. We'd just finished everything and it would have been so much nicer to have that while we were sorting out the tranches.
The morning of day 4 was awful, the weather was terrible, so we just wanted to get out as quickly as we could.
got up and we thought, like, we just got to power through this. It's the last day. Let's just get it done. We're almost there. Because all we talked about is different food we wanted to eat. Pizza and steak and... the one... oh, food! So brilliant.
So we actually made a wrong decision and we went left along a stream when we should have just kept going because we turned a bit early. And lucky we did do that though, because when we turned around and went back, there were leaders actually there. They gave everybody new routes, and they are basically our route, except going from the minibus as opposed to where we were, and with a few minor changes.
We did a lot of singing, a lot of talking, a lot of thinking it's almost over. The last day gave us a lot of chance to think back on what we've done, and we did get to our next checkpoint for lunch. It's quite a nice covered little forest area. And we pushed on through, and we carried on.
We saw a minibus in the distance, and we went towards it, and it was actually our minibus. But it was Tony there, and he said,
Just keep it up. We know it's been a tough day, horrible weather, but you're almost there now. This is the last leg. So we made a straight line across some grass onto a path, followed that path along, we came across this huge puddle.
Me and Cameron had the genius 200 plus IQ idea of walking directly through the middle of the puddle, because we're almost at the end. Let's just storm through it. So me, Cameron, Charlotte, so the fun ones, basically decided we're going to walk straight to the middle of this puddle, stomping on through, and just have a good time. And we did. Me and Cameron stormed on through, and then Charlotte came on behind.
well, the mindset was, our feet are soaking and covered in rain and sweat. They can't get any wetter, so we went through, and it turns out your feet can get wetter. Your feet can always get wetter.
Yeah, we got to the end and just...
We got there, we were the first team to get there, because we're cool and we're awesome.
We walked up to the assessor and he passed us, which was one of the most satisfying things, knowing it's over now, all we have to do is sit on the minibus, go home.
To our assessor, who then debriefed us, and we completed everything.
Well done, everyone. Thank you. Hooray! Yay. Got there something.
One thing you've got to keep in mind when you're on Dartmoor is that it is a military training zone. So you might find things like bullet casings or other ordnance, but the thing you've got to just do is not touch any of it. Like, do not touch anything under any circumstance, because it could still be live, it could detonate randomly if you give it a reason to.
Have you completed any previous Duke of Edinburgh awards?
Yes, I have. I did. I've done bronze and silver.
Yes, I've completed both bronze and silver.
I've completed the bronze and silver award already.
No, I am direct to gold. This is my first time doing DofE awards.
I just went straight from bronze to gold.
What were some of the things you wished you had done differently?
Definitely would have trained more. Definitely would have done some more walking practice. Got physically fitter.
Make sure you have 2 bottles, especially on Dartmoor, because then you can have a bottle of water that's safe to drink and a water of bottle which is currently sterilising the water.
Sometimes I found that I was walking considerably faster than some of my team members. Some of them had health problems like their knees or their back. You can only move as fast as your slowest member. I would definitely prepare all snacks that I like. Not anything that I just thrown in because that's whatever. Just everything that I do want to eat.
I didn't have any cutlery, so I did have to borrow some. That was probably the main thing, was just to make sure I definitely had everything, because that was a stupid thing to forget.
The rain was just horrible. Yeah, make sure you pack clean clothes.
What was the most challenging part of the walk for you and why?
Day 2, where we had about 3 kilometres of elephant grass. The pain in my knees when walking through the elephant grass, so I did have a support arm, but it was very painful.
It had to be the 3rd day for me. Team morale wasn't too high.
The 3rd day, when it was really chucking it down, really cold. But it was okay when we just kept singing.
I it hurt my back quite badly, and keeping my own spirits up.
I think that was one of the hardest parts, seeing everyone flagging. You've got to conquer it, really. Everyone did their best to try and lift everybody up. What were the best ways to keep morale up in the group?
My favourite way is probably singing.
Singing, yeah. Singing was definitely one of the best ways.
Singing, definitely singing. There was a lot of singing.
Hey!
Got to be singing. Makes the time go by really quickly.
What was your favourite moment?
We came across some horses, and there was a really, really young baby horse who came galloping over, and we thought, uh-oh, what's going to happen here? And just started nuzzling us and trying to get a fuss. So we gave him a little stroke, and it was just a little morale boost we needed.
Right in the morning, when me and George were in the tent, just with our heads through the zips, singing things like, just singing Despacito at each other, and just random songs, that was one of the best bits.